What time is it? It's time!
Tonight, the revolution begins.
I'm expecting a fight, hoping for a war.
We are the Bullet Club.
I am the greatest living professional wrestler alive. One by one, they will all follow me.
Bada boom! Realest guys in a room.
How you know?
Feed me more.
Yesterday on TMZ, Lana and Rusev engaged. Thank you. Thank you so much. Because I will never waste another minute of my time on a narcissistic, self-centered, egotistical, jealous, lying, cheating bastard.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Deezer.
Whew. I could say something really bad right now, but I'm not going to. It's just, the guy is barely hanging on by a thread, so probably doesn't deserve that. Anyway, this is Wrestle the Max episode 165. We are a day later than usual, but hey, we're still here. We're not like other podcasts that would just be like, hey, we're just not doing it this week.
That's right.
Forget that.
Exactly. And we're just glad, to be on with you guys. And we got a big show. And, there are, a lot of things that, you guys probably wanted to hear us talk about this week. And we're going to give you all those things, I'm sure. But we also want to definitely do one thing before we start this thing out hot and heavy. Before we start anything out, we want to definitely give our condolences to Bill DeMott and his family. What a tragic situation this week. And me and Sean are both fathers. And, one day Paul will be, in the same shoes as we are. And it's a situation that is not good, especially, I'm sure, for Bill mentally. And so we definitely want to give our condolences to the Bill DeMott family for sure on losing his daughter this past week. So just wanted to start that off like that. Just kind of let everybody know that. And hey, well, let's dedicate this show to the DeMott family. I just hate these situations. And so let's get on to some other things. I want to say this, guys. We are going to have a great show. We're going to talk about some big topics this week. If you want to hear us talk about the Lana and Rusev situation and them being engaged and TMZ and WWE, you're going to get a chance to hear us talk about it. We are going to do that in Monday Night Raw. We're going to give you all that information. This week in Quick Hits, we have a lot of big information. Too much for me to get into right now, so you're going to have to stick around for that. Plus, we are going to jump into NXT. We're still getting some of that fallout from TakeOver Respect, so you're going to want to hear all that. A big Royal Rumble type match that you don't want to miss. Who is the number one contender for the NXT title? We're going to find out. Plus, guys, you don't want to miss Ring of Honor like always, and we're going to get into some New Japan. That's right, we have not had a chance to talk about this. We were going to do a show this week. Things just didn't pan out. So this week, you're on this show, you're actually going to get a chance to hear us talk about King of Pro-Wrestling, New Japan's big show. We can't wait to break that thing down for you. Paul's going to lead us down that from A to Z. And, of course, hey, TNA is a part of this as well. We've got to talk some TNA. And, well, we always crown a Superstar of the Week. So who's it going to be? You'll have to wait and find that out as well. So lots of great stuff. I'm excited about this show. But before we get into all the wrestling, I just want to say this. I have realized this week that I think, personally, October is my favorite month, guys. I just... the weather in, where I live in North Texas isn't exactly cold and chilly right now, but it's getting closer to that. I'm loving that. I love the whole spirit of October, and plus I'm a big Halloween fan, so I'm enjoying it. We got football going on. You got the World Series playoffs are kind of starting, starting it up and everything. So hockey's here, basketball's here. It's just a wonderful time to be a human being in the month of October. So weird thing for me, but I don't know about you guys. Anything that you guys have realized over the week that, you enjoyed more than you thought, or anything that's going on in your lives? How about you, Paul?
The cooler weather, definitely a bonus. And in Texas, that usually means like today there's a really nice breeze, but yesterday it was like really hot. So you get to see the joys of Texas weather at its finest in October.
Exactly. And I'll say this, Paul, I was dumb. The time I picked to go to the State Fair of Texas, which happens in October, I went to it and actually was pretty miserable. Busy crowds, hot and sweaty. I was just like, man, this is supposed to be October, it's supposed to be cool. But no, in Texas, they have to have these heat waves in the middle of October. So, yeah. And then one thing else, I was disappointed. They have a new Big Tex voice. If you're not a Texas person, you never went to the Texas State Fair, we've always had an iconic State Fair of Texas guy called Big Tex. He has a whole voice, Southern drawl. They got a new person to do it. So it's just kind of a bummer, I don't know why they got somebody from Canada, though. It was kind of odd going to the State Fair of Texas and hearing, hey, hello, welcome to the State Fair of Texas, eh? So, anyway, it was kind of odd, but I got over it. I'm a Bret Hart fan. But, Sean, how about yourself? How are things going with you?
Going good, I guess. Got to watch my daughter do this little parade for Hispanic Heritage, the end of Hispanic Heritage Month. My mom and grandma made sure she had this awesome looking dress, and that was fun to go to. They even they made it seem like they were gonna make them go to the parking lot, and then they take them the other way around, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm not gonna be able to sit here and watch this. I'm gonna actually have to go do the parade with her to get any kind of pictures or video or whatever. And then I show up and they stop the whole line so that I can take pictures of the video, and I felt really awkward. And I'm just sitting there okay, y'all can keep going, just don't stop this for me. But it was you can if you're friends with me on Facebook or whatever, you can go see the videos. It's
great.
Really cool. That being said, just glad that Paul is not sick right now.
Yeah, he still is.
Do this with us. And I finally got my little adapter so I could play the instruments for Rock Band. And man, that freestyle guitar solo thing is awesome. It really makes you feel like you're doing a solo. It's
wow.
So.
That's awesome. So I know I'll be looking forward to having the review to read, Sean. I know you'll be writing a review over Rock Band, so it's going to be great. I'm excited for you. I know you love playing that game. I miss the days when we got a chance to sit there and play for hours. So
yes, those were the days.
Those were the days.
When
no
we
time.
Had less important things to do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, talking about more important things to do, I guess, guys, it is time for us to jump into some wrestling talk. We also want to let you guys know that we have a great, sponsor for the show, people that do our logos, people that are helping us out with this show. They are the fine people that do Math Tumble. That's right. If you've never played Math Tumble, you need to go check it out. It is a blast to play. It is a fun math game that you can get on your phone. If you have an Android, go check it out. It is soon coming to your iPhone. It's just a blast to play. Plus, it's kind of educational. Your kids will love playing it too. So go check out that. We want you guys to know all about that. But we will be right back with some great wrestling news and quick hits.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right, guys. Well, we have a lot to talk about today. There's several things on the docket here, and, it's kind of hard to pick one from the other, but we'll just jump into something that I think is kind of interesting. Lucha Underground is a product that we love so much. We've missed it. I cannot wait till it comes back on. I know you guys are probably feeling the same exact way. But, they are still trying to work things out. Of course, they got to get their talent roster up and going, and then there's a lot of people that will be coming and staying with them. Ricochet is one of them. If you don't know him by that name, Prince Puma. He is going to stick with the company. He has a long contract, 7 years, but WWE was interested in him. They put some feelers out there, but once they realize the contract situation and other things like that, they are not going to be having him a part of their roster just yet. But, they're also looking at some other prospects. And, of course, they look at AAA, which they are tied to. But, man, this is really interesting. Sean, I mean, there are a few names that were named, the possibilities for going to Lucha Underground.
Oh, shoot. This is one of those that yesterday I had pulled up, and I don't have it pulled up.
That's okay. But
I know we have Ray Horace. They're interested in the Young Bucks again because they won't offer him some ridiculous contract.
Speedball Mike Bailey was on that list too.
Yeah, Speedball Mike Bailey was the big one that wasn't the Young Bucks.
Yeah, and what about El Patron? I mean, we have kind of got some news on him about him kind of pulling out of some things and not sure he wants to go back to Lucha Underground. I mean, I know they're interested in him, but we just don't know if we're going to get him.
Yeah, he feels like he got cheated out of not being in the main event of Lucha Underground, apparently, and that the show didn't get built around him. Now he doesn't know if he wants to go back. I mean, and then everybody. The weird thing is, once again, we're hearing all this stuff about basically everybody around the world wants him again.
Yeah, even WWE. I mean, even though they had the whole whole controversy, racist and all that. I mean, they still are interested. You got AAA. You've got even New Japan, who put out feelers about El Patron. So you're right, Sean. I mean, he's a hot commodity right now. Very, very interesting. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of have a feeling he's going to use everything he can to be able to move around. I don't think he's going to tie himself to one organization. I think he enjoys the freedom. I don't know about you. What do you think, Paul? Do you think that's the case with El Patron?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Frankly, him not wanting to do Lucha Underground because they didn't base the show around him is just silly. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, the bonus of being able to work worldwide for multiple promotions, I think, is a big appeal now, and something that's not incredibly far-fetched anymore, especially with the internet and just the way other wrestling promotions have sort of grown around the rise of the internet. It's a completely viable option now. So,
Sean, do you think he's asking for too much? I mean, we just saw him pull out of a couple shows over in Europe. I actually think it was the whole tour, if I'm not wrong. And, he said they just didn't offer him what he had already told him that, he usually gets. He says, I usually go on business when I'm flying overseas or anywhere. There's a few things that they wouldn't match that is already in my deal. Someone gave them a false agreement that I didn't ever agree to. I'm not sure that, he's a prima donna, but it seems like he is to an extent. But do you think that he values himself too much? Or, what do you think about this whole El Patron situation?
I mean, he obviously has a high value for himself. Being a former WWE superstar and not top echelon one, but a pretty high one will do that to you, and he can make certain demands, having that repertoire with him. But, some of the stuff is like, I can understand on these big long trips flying business. I got lucky enough I flew business on one of them and I flew coach on another, and the difference is astonishing and much more comfortable. So I can understand, when you're making these 5-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour, 10-hour trips, being uncomfortable for that long is really annoying. So I can understand that one, but some of the other stuff is just, it just seems more like, well, I don't know if I really wanted to do this show, and now I have a reason to get out of it. It's whatever. I mean, to me personally, the big deal apparently is that he's brought a lot to AAA, and the only company besides Lucha Underground he could be in that allows him to still be with AAA is TNA. And if I'm Alberto El Patron or anybody that has some kind of high ceiling, don't go to TNA. You're stupid if you go to TNA at this point. I get TNA wanting him, and I get TNA wanting to pay him all this money. Again, I've said this a zillion times about TNA. You are going to absolutely destroy the morale of your locker room if you bring in Alberto El Patron with all that money. why are you even considering this at this point? Like, it should just be, if you be like ROH, we're not even talking about it. We can't afford it. Just stop acting like you can afford things that you obviously cannot afford. Like, maybe you can afford it monetarily, but you can't afford it for the personnel that you're going to be hurting that's around. Because this guy can just up and leave, and what he could have done to your company will be felt.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And it's just dumb. Like, honestly, to me, like, if he's going to do anything and he doesn't want to do WWE, which was so funny to me is apparently Triple H had told him to, like, take 6 months off and then just come back. Like, and he apparently said that because they didn't get things figured out on a phone call that he's not. So, like, I don't know. But to me, like, it's either WWE or you just stay with, or just don't do Lucha Underground and do AAA, because, like, I think, I don't know, with, like, New Japan, I mean, is he going to get to the heights that, like, AJ did? I don't know. You know, and then, like, if he gets put in a multi-man tag, how annoyed is he going to be that he gets put in a multi-man tag? Like, you know, like, I don't think Ghetto's going to play well with, like, what do you think, Paul? Like, to me, if he goes up to Ghetto and goes, hey, dude, I'm not doing a multi-man tag, like, he'd just be like, all right, well, then we don't need you, you know? Like, I mean, you know, I don't see him coming into the main event day one.
Yeah.
That would depend, I guess, on the situation, but I don't either. The main event for New Japan's pretty established, although they could use an extra guy, and El Patron would fit the style. He sort of got that whole strong style appeal. He has MMA background. He's an extremely talented wrestler. I mean, he would fit the bill. I don't know where he would slot in, though, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that is interesting. I mean, looking at that roster in New Japan, I mean, he would definitely be an added bonus. I mean, for me personally, they got so many talented guys over there. He would just honestly be a luxury because they don't really necessarily need him. But at the same point, he could definitely bolster their roster and do a lot of good things over there in New Japan. So, I mean, it's his decision, though. Del Rio is going to, or, you know, El Patron, whatever you want to call him, is going to do his own thing. And I'm sure in the future we'll probably get some more prospects. And if he does come back to WWE, it's definitely a money thing. It's definitely a thing where he's going to put his pride aside to make tons and tons of money. But we'll have to see how that's going to work out. You know, we were just talking about Lucha Underground. Once again, you know, he wasn't happy with their situation. I think their roster is, you know, pretty much going to be set from what we had last year. You're going to have some new faces, but I'm assuming you guys think that, you know, with what you got from Lucha Underground, you don't need a whole lot. I think they're great just the way they are. Looking over at AAA, though, that is an interesting organization because they do have some names that are tied with Lucha Underground. They share a lot of the talent. But, you know, we got Mystices, who we've seen, and, of course, if you don't know Mystices, former Sin Cara in WWE, he is, you know, basically taking off and going over to CMLL. This is a weird situation for me, and I don't know what his basis is, but apparently he is not happy with AAA, and there's other people following him over to CMLL.
Well, he has a big problem with El Patron.
Yep, that's true.
They have heat from their WWE days still, from when he did the whole stopping the match because he broke his finger or whatever. Mm-hmm. And apparently El Patron threatened to beat him up on Twitter and stuff like that. And yeah, like you said, he has two brothers, and one of them is Argenis, who's in Lucha Underground as one of the Disciples of Death, which I don't think it's a big a deal because he's masked and you can easily get somebody else to replace him. But still, look, like, if you don't understand, you know, Lucha at all, like, basically him going, he started in CML, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Okay, so it's like going from WCW to WWE, then back to WCW. That's what he just did. And he's taking some guys with him. All because of somebody else, it seems like.
Yeah, especially over threats of being beat up. That's kind of funny to me. It's like,
I mean, he's not a big dude.
No, he's not. But
he's not small, dude. Not small either. But
mm-hmm.
You know, the funniest thing to me is his new name. My name is Mystic 2.0. I mean, I guess it goes along with all the weird lucha names, so it's fine.
Yeah. You know. In pop culture, you know, you always hear 2.0, you know, what was it, Zoe 101 or something like that, different things like that, so.
That was the thing. I can't believe Gary's like pulling that out of the hat. But, yeah.
I know. Weird things, I know. My wife used to watch a lot of Disney Channel. Still does, to an extent. But, you know, there's all this stuff going on in different organizations. And, you know, Miss Disease, whatever, you know, you're a fan of calling him Sin Cara, whatever you like calling him. We'll have to see how he does. But, you know, that's an interesting story. There's other things going on in other organizations that are very interesting, kind of like WWE and their new deal with ESPN. Now, that is something that is a big deal because, you know, once again, we've talked about this in the past. It's always great for WWE to have exposure on mainstream sports stations, and especially ESPN, you know, the worldwide leader. They are going to have a segment with Coach every Tuesday at 9 p.m., and they are going to be basically focusing on highlights of Raw. And so this is going to be a really cool deal, guys. Paul, you know, looking at this, I mean, how much is this going to help WWE? Because we've seen the ratings kind of really, really go down. Do you think this will help ratings for WWE Raw?
I think this is going to be a wait-and-see sort of deal. This is no doubt some ginormous, you know, coup here for WWE because for one, I mean, ESPN SportsCenter ratings are slipping just because it's so much easier for people on their phones now to download an app and suddenly you have your updates and highlights on your favorite teams or whatever sport you follow or all that fun stuff. So ESPN's trying to scramble to find a way to keep SportsCenter still going, and they think this is one way to go. And it's hard to disagree with them because, you know, despite WWE still dropping ratings, they're still pulling threes, which is pretty good. For cable. So I don't know if this is going to help both people as much as they think it will, but it is still no doubt a huge piece of business. Because now, I mean, they have this giant, you know, machine behind them on Tuesdays now who's promoting them. So it's mind-boggling almost.
It is. It's really crazy. And Sean, I mean, you were talking about, you know, there'll be different superstars, you know, focused on in these segments with Coach, right?
Yep, Seth Rollins was the guy to kick it off, but there's going to be other ones. I mean, we'll see different one every week. Seems like, you know what? This is something that like I think is controversial and yet really great for WWE, and it could benefit ESPN as well. I mean, definitely brings in an audience that perhaps they might have lost. I think that, you know, when you're looking at this, if WWE can improve their product, perhaps you get people who go, man, I haven't watched wrestling in a while. Let me see what's going on. I don't think last week's Raw was, you know, that we're about to talk about was probably the one you need to be showing on ESPN, but, you know, it is what it is. The coach seemed very nervous during that segment, too. Maybe he gets better as it goes on, hopefully for him and for ESPN. But I think this is just one of those things like, man, as the sports fan in me goes, I can't believe I'm about to watch WWE on a sports station, right? Like, I just, you know, ESPN, the E and ESPN is entertainment, but it's just like, I know there's got to be so many people that are just thinking ESPN's got off their rocker at this point. Like, and it's, and you know, we do need to remember that ESPN did have wrestling on it in the early days too. So, I mean, it is going back to that, but man, you know, it's just, it's so weird. Like, it's so weird to like see WWE there along with like NBA, and I just don't want to hear them like, okay, the joke that Xavier Woods makes on Raw, I don't want to hear them make some kind of sports joke every week, and we know that's what it's for. Like, I just don't want these obvious things that are being made to placate ESPN, and that's the only thing that I fear we're going to get here. That it's going to become an issue where we're going to start seeing these things put in there because of ESPN now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to laugh if all of a sudden we start seeing, like, Monday Night Football start, like, mentioning that Raw exists too. That's going to be really cool.
Oh, man. Yeah, same company. That is going to be weird. I doubt that happens. They want their ratings. But, yeah, it would be very funny. Especially, you have John Gruden say something like, oh, wow, that tackle was crazy. That was a Reigns-like spear, weird. Or
I can't wait. Yeah, John Gruden's just waiting to.
Oh yeah, he's gonna say
like
something.
That.
Did you say the way Spiller ran through that line looked like Hornswoggle running from a chicken or something?
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, he's smarter than that. Trust me, he would make that comment. But Chucky's a great guy. But looking at this whole thing, it's great. This is a sweet deal. Especially, Disney's the parent company of ESPN. You never know. Maybe they'll have some Disney character princess coming out, and maybe they'll add Becky Lynch to that. You never know.
I wonder how NBC feels about all this.
Probably not thrilled. I'm sure. They're probably having their say so somewhere.
That's what's funny. Like apparently, what's called Team PCB is now Team NBC. Like, really, guys?
Oh,
we couldn't have thought of a better initial.
It's so silly. But moving away from that, let's get into some other deals that WWE's making, and that is they're jumping in with Evolve. They are back in this discussion. We've talked about it in the past. It was all speculation, but now it is pretty much official. And Sami Zayn is going to make an appearance at one of their upcoming shows. So that is great news as well, especially if you're going to be going to one of those Evolve shows. What do you guys think about this, though? Now that it's pretty much official, I mean, is this a pretty sweet deal for WWE and Evolve both?
I think this needs to wait some more too. Just Sami Zayn isn't wrestling at these shows. He's doing a meet and greet before the shows, and an autograph signing, and then he's doing a special in-ring appearance with some of the Evolve guys. That is strictly for the live audiences only. So he won't be on. If you're watching Evolve on pay-per-view this weekend, you won't see him on there during his segments. They're going to play something from the China tour that they did earlier this year or last year. I can't remember which. So there's that. It'll be because I don't know if they're ever going to be able to televise any of the NXT talent on their iPay-per-views or anything like that. But if we do get to that point, that'll be, I think, when this is, a lot more steam behind the idea of a WWE Evolve partnership.
We did see an Evolve article show up on radio.com talking about the 5 Evolve guys you need to know and all that. I think this is one of those things where obviously there's certain limitations that they won't, rise above, which is, we're not going to see. We will see Evolve guys continue to be on NXT, but we probably won't see NXT guys show up and Evolve. At least the ones that we see on TV. I think we're definitely going to see a lot of those ones that make the smaller Florida tours. We'll see those guys. The guys we haven't seen on NXT TV yet. I think that's what and then we'll eventually see them on NXT and be like, oh, they were in Evolve. Like, I'm about to go, let me go watch that match or something. Or maybe we'll see when they get up there, we'll see the Evolve match or something like that. They'll show some of the Evolve match or something like that. I think this is cool either way. I mean, this gets Evolve some press, obviously. It gets, it shows WWE's willing to work with other promotions, which is a good step in the right direction. So, I mean, we've already seen it with Liger and New Japan and all that stuff. So, I mean, this is good for the future of wrestling in general and where WWE could be headed when, Vince is no longer the one in charge. So,
And thank you for that great segue, Sean. Talking about the future. Now, WWE has been looking to the future. NXT has been the biggest part of that. Something that they're looking at and possibly building on the youth of this generation and, building on their fan base, I'm sure right now. They are going to have a show called NXT Kids, and this is going to be a fun deal where they are actually already casting for this. They're looking for children that, have the ability to come up and announce, as well as be the guys and gals that interview wrestlers. So this is going to be fun. I just cannot wait for this show because I'm so curious how these kids are going to do these shows, especially the announce team.
Well, if you watch the pilot, which you can find on Daily Motion if you look for it, it's Corey Graves and then there's 2 kids doing the announcing during matches. So you'll have that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a kid backstage interviewer. So that's interesting. It's certainly a different thing than what they try to do with Saturday Morning Slam. It is directly kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's... Man, that's just, like, I guess this is going to be on the network, too.
Ah.
I mean, wow, like...
Paul, is this going to be better than Saturday Morning Slam?
I mean, you're setting the bar pretty low there, Gary. Yeah, I mean, it's a really neat idea. I think it's cool that they're trying to get kids into NXT now. Obviously, they have a lot of faith in the brand if they want to continue to grow it, especially with a younger audience. So, I think it's a really cool opportunity for NXT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is going to be interesting because it kind of matches up with, Disney Channel already does this kind of stuff. They kind of, have, fun events where they go and they interview big superstars of big movies. You'll see him interviewing The Rock for the next, Magic Mountain or whatever that movie is he does, and different things like that. So that's fun. And, it's going to be exciting just to see how they do this whole production. I'm looking forward to it, especially, when one of the kids goes, excuse me, why is Tyler Breeze such a poo-poo head, I'm waiting for that. That's the kind of stuff I want to hear.
That's coming, Gary.
I know. So, we'll see. But you know what, guys? We have a few other news topics on this, but let's go ahead and jump into some fire quick hits. We're going to throw these out to you. Sean and Paul are going to answer them in pretty few and select words, but they're going to get them out to you. Okay, let's start this out. ACH, ROH, yes, they made a 1-year agreement. What do you think?
I believe the deal is ACH is going to be working exclusively with ROH in North America, which is a really neat opportunity, and hopefully ROH capitalizes and pushes him correctly.
Yeah, Paul said it. He can do whatever he wants outside of the United States.
Scott Hall talking about NXT, joining that force. What do you think about Scott Hall and part of the NXT?
I think he has some stuff to impart to the next generation, and hopefully this is another part of his rehab to help keep him clean and on the straight and narrow.
Well, Paul said he also has things to teach them not to do as well. So, I mean, I think it goes both ways. I mean, you always need that extra instruction. I mean, they do teach them about, like, make sure you save your money and all that kind of stuff. So there's things that, you can take from not just from the wrestling side of things, but from other sides of it that you do need to be careful of when you're going down the road,
Blue Pants has moved on, no longer in the NXT roster. What do you guys think about
that? Apparently has been shot down.
Is that shot down? Okay, well, let's just pretend that never happened then.
Well, here's the thing. People need to stop reporting on this. It happens every time she takes a break. Whether she has heat or not, it's whatever. Obviously, Triple H doesn't care about that. So, because he keeps using her. So.
Yeah, it was on the news wire. We threw it out there, but if it's not real, don't cover it. Well, WWE 2K16 has their creative suite back. That's right, it is in full force. What do you guys think? Do you think this thing is going to be bigger and better, or do you just not care?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's bigger and better. The creative suite in 2K has always been a nice little part of the game, so hopefully it's as awesome as it used to be.
It killed the game last year, not having a lot of the stuff in there that you're used to, ever since 2K took over the deal. I think this has to make some people come back, because there's a lot of people that only play this game to create characters and use those created characters. So if you give them more things to create, like the create a show thing, which we'll have to see more about that, is always a plus.
Yep, and I think that a lot of guys are going to have fun creating their different characters, and hopefully it is a big hit. King Barrett is going to be wanting, or actually not going to be, but he would love to be a part of a tag team. He said he's never really got a chance to do that in WWE, so he wants to do it. Do you think it's a good idea, and who should he tag with?
Oh, man, I haven't a clue who he should tag with, but I think it's a really neat idea for him. King Barrett, I think he works well off of other people, and if he can find somebody else who he can work that well with, then it's another boon to the tag division.
I know they're in a feud right now, but I think Neville would work awesome with him. Imagine a bullhammer and then Red Arrow finisher. I mean, that's glorious to me anyway. I think Sheamus and Barrett, that's just like boredom walking. But you put Neville in there, and it's like electrifying immediately. So.
Exactly. I think that'd be kind of cool as well. And the last thing we'll talk about here, guys, is the fact that there have been people talking about the NXT women and their big matches, and the fact that they love to cry after them. Now, this is funny because, it is true, and there's been speculation that it kind of ruins things to an extent. Do you think them crying after these big matches is getting in the way of what's going on with the show?
Recently, no. There's been a large change in NXT. There's a large change in women's wrestling happened in WWE that is centered around these 4 girls. I don't know how you could not cry every time you go out there and show the crowd why this is happening and why this is a thing.
Well, I mean, I've said it a bunch of times already. I cried along with Bayley and everybody else when she won the title. I think that they tried to force that same emotion, as we said during the TakeOver review, for the Respect review, that they tried to force the same emotion. And I can understand, why you're crying here. It's Sasha's last match in NXT, presumably, and it's Bayley finally becoming the standard bearer now in the division. So I can understand the crying there. They're not crying after every single match. There was no crying after Bayley beat Becky on the road to the... I think this guy's over, and the guy on Forbes that wrote this it's getting a little bit too extra with it. I understand there are people that are mad about it and all this stuff, but listen, they're not doing this after every single match on every single NXT. They're doing this in big moments, and these have been big moments that are... We have seen grown men cry in these same big moments. So why not?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And,
not to mention it shows emotion. Don't we want them to show emotion? Isn't that the problem that we've said? It seems like no one cares that much.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from. What do you think, Paul?
I mean, I don't have a problem with anybody. If the emotion is real and it's there and you're feeling it, then go for it.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there. You need to be as real as you can. That's the name of the game when it comes to at least, showcasing that these people could be, in a situation where, they're like me and you. That's a good thing, that you want the crowd to relate to these people. They're playing characters, but you still want them to relate. And not having emotions doesn't relate to us. So I think it's fine as long as it doesn't get overbearing too many times. I mean, if it was every match, yeah, that's a problem, but it's not. So, well, guys, that is quick hits for you. We are going to move on to some other great things. We're going to do Monday Night Raw next, but we want to let you know, don't forget, we are covering King of Pro-Wrestling in this show. That is going to be great. A lot of fun to talk about. You don't want to miss that. Sean and Paul are going to break that down for you. Paul will lead us down that list A to Z. And, of course, you don't want to forget we're going to do TNA and ROH in this show, as well as, Crown of Superstars. So you don't want to miss. We got a big show ahead of us. So let's go ahead and jump into some Monday Night Raw, though.
WWE Monday Night Raw.
Alright, Monday Night Raw was live from Chicago, Illinois this week, so they definitely had a pretty hot crowd for this one. The opening segment involved the New Day, which, never going to complain about the New Day, but it also involved Randy Orton and Dean Ambrose seemingly just arguing over a whole hell of a lot of nothing. The segment only ran about 10 minutes, but good God, was I the only one that felt like it went on for 30 minutes? This is one of the times where I just thought like New Day just wasn't clicking. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's nice that they tried to freshen up the opening, but it didn't do anything for me either, unfortunately.
You know, it feels so bad for me to say this, but it's almost like when Randy Orton gets involved, it's nothing special. It's average. It's
what was funny was you could see Randy Orton like laughing at the last part of whatever the New Day were saying, because it was like, all right, we're just going all out with this.
Yeah, and nothing specifically wrong with Randy Orton. I wish they'd put him in better situations. This isn't really, for me, a great situation for him. I get the Dean Ambrose thing. I think they're leading us into a path of, hey, John Cena's about to be gone. He's going to have to highlight for us. You know, he's going to have to carry the ball here a little bit. So I get that completely. But, man, this opening sequence was not good.
To me, I would have felt like if they didn't really have New Day like go on and on and on, if they would have come up with, okay, this is what we want to say, let's try to do this quick, get to the point, would have been better. But like, I thought they went overly long with it. Like, it's funny. Like, some of the stuff was funny. Like the whole like, hey, you know what? None of y'all can ever get on our level. Like, we beat John Cena in the middle of the ring, and like, I don't remember the Shield doing that, or how many damn groups were you in, Randy Orton? And that's when you could see Orton start smiling, and his, that was funny, but like, it was just like, man, we took way too long to get to this, and the Derrick Rose thing was just kind of like, all right, I'm glad they didn't go with the other Derrick Rose thing. Whatever.
Yeah.
So, so the storyline here again throughout the show is Kane is running the show, and the Authority apparently are just continuing to run into roadblocks that may or may not have been done by Kane. They talked to Kane on speakerphone backstage. I felt like this just got a little silly after a while. Like, it takes, I don't know. I got that stuff with Kane. Like, obviously he's not all there right now, and he's obviously enjoying the fact that they keep getting lost and all this. But we get a lumberjack match, and they kind of give away the match before the pay-per-view with Rollins and Kane, because they tell Kane that you can't go out there and wrestle, so out comes Demon Kane instead, which I think everybody could see coming a mile away. How did you like this whole thing with Kane and all that throughout the night? Do you think it really added anything, and do you felt like they just gave away stuff instead of actually wanting to make you see more towards Hell in a Cell?
I don't know if this added anything to the feud other than it's just sort of restating what we already know. Like, there's tension with Kane and everybody that he's been associated with since the corporate thing happened. I was not a fan of the whole idea of them in the lumberjack match, and then whenever Triple H says, "Hey, you can't do that," and then the very obvious Demon Kane appearance, it was meh. And Demon Kane going over even just meh.
Well, let's be honest, Paul. You could probably say that about the entire Monday Night Raw, but we'll forgive me.
But yeah,
it's like, is Seth Rollins like the biggest loser right now? I mean, like, that's all that he seems to be going on with Seth Rollins.
I feel bad for him. I almost feel as bad for him as I do Charlie Brown. It just seems he's just a guy, that's never getting things done, even though he's got the nameplate. Yeah, I feel bad for him, but I feel bad for this whole thing. Kane, I get trying to do the comedy with the phone, and trying to make that a deal, but to me, it was not working. I just did not enjoy that so much. And, main event was what it was. It was okay. It did what it was supposed to do, but I'm not really thrilled with the results.
Just for me, this felt like we're treading water, and we don't know what to do, so let's just make this happen. And I'm never a fan of basically giving away a match already, and not to mention the lumberjack match is just whoever thought this was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Seth Rollins and Ambrose still probably had one of the best damn lumberjack matches ever, but that's like 1 in a million. Like, most lumberjack matches are just blah.
Yeah, I agree.
So, we did have stuff with... one thing I forgot to... Is it bad that New Day never win decisively? They always seem to win by, oops, this guy ran into this guy, or this happened, or... does it hurt them?
I don't know. I mean, sort of. I mean, you're killing momentum. It's not like your show has been this great must-watch program every week recently, too. So, I mean, I would say it does. Just because, I mean, you're losing audience quickly, and the ratings is obviously showing that, too. So.
Yeah, I mean, New Day is one of the best things that's on this show. Let's be honest. And we talked about this last week, and really, I mean, I'm okay with it to an extent, to be honest with you, because of the fact that they're who they are. You got the comedy aspect with them. You got the silliness. You got, some of the seriousness. So I think it works for them better than it does work for other people. But, not exactly the best thing going for them, but I think they can get away with it.
So, we had two things with the Divas here. You had Brie and Alicia Fox against Charlotte and Becky later on in the show, right before the main event. And then you also had what was sort of like much more like the main storyline with Naomi taking on Nikki. And you also had them show the part of the takeover match from Respect with Sasha and Bayley, and all of a sudden, knowing where they are, we want Sasha chants that completely dominate the entirety of the match. Now, they did have Paige out there on commentary, and the commentary team did discuss about how that might cause problems between Team Bad, which didn't seem to happen in this match. But do you feel like this was intentionally done, like it was a plot device to possibly encourage something going on with Team Bad? Or do you think WWE did this to kind of prop up Sasha a little bit and it backfired on them because now they cared more about Sasha than the actual match that was going on?
Yeah, I think it's a problem that they sort of suffer because Sasha hasn't been used a ton. And that is a problem. She's the best on the roster right now, in my opinion. I kind of wish they'd give some more focus on the Natty Page stuff, which they kind of do throughout the show. But it's nothing overly major. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's nothing that really moves the story forward other than they hate each other. And we need more there. We need a lot more there.
I agree. And, they keep talking about the Divas Revolution. They keep talking about, who's in charge of it and all these different things about the Revolution. But the one that they're forgetting is, if the Revolution is coming out of NXT into the main roster, they definitely left the storylines behind at NXT. They're floating around there somewhere because they're sure not on Raw. There's not a whole lot of substance to it. And just like these matches, okay, yeah, they're decent, but you know what? Let's be honest. They're not pulling off NXT-type matches on this show. They're not doing those type of things. So really, you're just getting the same things with new faces. And that's not... to me, that's not what was advertised. When I was advertised the NXT their top women were going to be going to the main roster, it was going to get better. And right now, it's not better. And I'm right there with Paul on, the fact that, everybody's so excited about, Banks and what Sasha Banks can do for, them and to get the chance to see her, but they are not giving her any chances really just yet to be anything special. Hopefully that'll change. And as well as, the Paige and Natty thing, they need that's perfect. Get involved with that. Get in deep. They're not doing that.
Well, speaking of not getting in too deep here, we're not going to get in too deep into some of the fluff that was pretty much on this show, which is, the Dudleys kind of destroying the Ascension. You have Ryback pretty much squashing Rusev. And you also have Sheamus and King Barrett taking out Cesaro and Neville. Is WWE pushing the wrong team here? I mean, shouldn't we be talking about Cesaro and Neville going somewhere? I mean, it just seems like WWE is kind of dropping the ball on everybody in that whole scenario there. I mean, is this just the case of WWE doesn't know what to do with any of these people? I mean, Sheamus is the Money in the Bank guy. Shouldn't he be having a direction at some point here?
I think that's the reason why they're putting the focus on the Sheamus and Barrett relationship is simply because he does have that briefcase. And I am hopeful they're trying to build up something around this relationship where maybe they get a stable going around Sheamus or something like that. I would be very okay with that. And I really hope they do know what they're doing here, because if you're going to start throwing Cesaro and Neville to these guys, then you got to make sure you have a plan in place to catch them whenever they're done.
Yeah, it's an okay pairing with Cesaro and Neville, but you're never going to recreate what Tyson Kidd and Cesaro had, and I don't think they're trying to recreate that. But I think Cesaro just needs to hang out by himself for a little longer. Yes, not getting a whole lot of TV time out of it, but still, I just would rather see him, stay in singles compared to that. And the rest of it, Sheamus and all this. I mean, it's so hard to care. It really is. There's nothing that's grabbing my attention. I almost forget that Sheamus has that briefcase because he doesn't matter right now.
That's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're forgetting that he has the briefcase?
Well, not really, but in a way I feel like I forget because I just could care that less.
Mm.
I mean, it's hard to ignore him carrying it around, but I mean, if I didn't watch Raw, I bet you probably in 2 weeks I would. Oh, that's right, he has a briefcase. So.
So you enjoyed the U.S. Title Open Challenge this week between Ziggler and Cena. Is this getting too much into where it's pretty much almost the same match with Cena every week now? They don't want to expose too much, so now it's just Cena taking a bunch of moves and then doing the A and winning. I mean, is there a way to make this a bit different? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like we're going to start getting into running the same course over and over.
I mean, the match is still good. There's nothing you can really take away from that there. He needs somebody else that comes up like a Kevin Owens did, comes through the challenge and just sort of changes the game for him. I don't know if WWE has that guy in mind yet.
At least not a serious contender at the moment. I think that they need to continue pulling guys from NXT, continue pulling people from the lower card to really battle for that. We got to see people that have not fought John Cena on a regular basis, and not that Dolph Ziggler has, but we've seen Ziggler Cena, more than once for sure. So I just kind of feel like they could definitely use that fresh blood in there to face Cena and make it interesting, great. I even say, man, if you want to get some guys, from the, the legends, let's just take, for example, Rhino's already a part of the NXT roster, but let's say Rhino. I mean, if Rhino showed up one day on Raw just to do that, I think it'd be great. I think it'd be fun and people would find it interesting. Just getting guys like Ziggler, it's a great match, but nothing just too super special.
I agree with you. It's just happening. I don't feel like there's any kind of all that stuff that you used to feel with the Open Challenge. You don't feel that right now because for one, Ziggler's just ultimate loser. He doesn't really win anything, so it's just like he's not winning, and then there's no sort of feud underlying here for John Cena either. So it's just kind of like he's just going out there and doing the match, and I mean that's cool. It's great that you have this like match that is going to be good and whatever. But the surprise factor, the reason to watch, I think, is not there when you use an established guy that we see all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, you also can't just run through the NXT guys and all have them lose to John Cena either.
Right.
So it's one of those catch-22 things.
Yeah, and exactly. I agree with you, and I think you sprinkle them in, but once again, like I said, I mean, you could probably find some guys one night only type situations. Bring back RVD for one match. Bring back other people that you haven't seen in a long time. Bring back Vader for one match. I know it sounds silly, but at the same time, it'd be kind of fun. And heck, I definitely would want to tune in every week on Monday Night Raw to see who's the next guy going to face off against Cena.
That's how it was for a little while. Then they lost that.
Mm-hmm.
So, we did have the next guy to face off against Kevin Owens, and it was Kalisto. And this was certainly a standout match. I loved it. We got the right decision here. But should you just had Kevin Owens squash Kalisto, or since obviously they're not doing anything with him, or was this okay for you?
It was fine for me. It was 5-6 minutes. You still got to see a lot of what Kalisto's about, which is good. Because you gotta keep interest in as many of these guys as possible, even if you're not doing anything with them. And I mean, obviously Kevin Owens is just amazing.
Yeah, he's a great wrestler. You love watching Kevin Owens, and once again, there's no reason to bury Kalisto or make him look unimportant. You want the guy to look important because he's going to be one of your biggest draws when it comes to the Latino community. And not only that, he's so talented in general. You want him to be successful, so no reason in putting him in a bad situation. He got a chance to look good here. That's what's positive for me.
Yeah, I like that he looked good too. I mean, whether you do something with him or not is kind of irrelevant. Gary kind of pointed it out. You don't want stuff happening where everybody that this guy faces, it's a squash city, squash this, and you also don't want to have to Ryback save everyone either. It kind of gets old hat. So, it was what it was. You just kind of need these sometimes. Ryback got his. Kevin Owens didn't get his, but Kevin Owens was facing different talent. You could say that Rusev is higher up the card than Kalisto, but it is what it is. At least Rusev got to have his moment, but not before Summer Rae just laid down the hammer on the fact that she did not like that Rusev and Lana were engaged after she had gone on Raw and proposed to Rusev. And now she finds this out and she lets him have it, that basically she's not going to let a man do this to her again. And then Rusev is just there dumbfounded. But I'm sure he's not feeling too bad as he's with the woman he wants. Now here's the thing, WWE didn't have to acknowledge this. This is still a kayfabe show, or at least supposed to be. Even though, they do tout this is the reality era, even though they're really inconsistent with that. Did WWE do the right thing in acknowledging the Lana storyline and pretty much killing it here? Or could they have found a way to make them come back on screen and still in storyline? I mean, what do you think here?
I think it's a catch-22, a danged if you don't, danged if you do. For the this is the best Summer Rae's ever done on a promo, I think, in her entire career. This was pretty good all the way through. And in the era that we live in now, where the internet is everything, and news breaks like this all the time, and with WWE sort of embracing that idea, I think they had to do this. So I mean, I'm sure Ruru and Lana will be back together on screen before we know it too, and if you want to use this to go with that Dolph Ziggler Summer Rae heel couple thing, then I think that's a fine way to go if you want to keep going with that.
That brings me to this, Paul. So, legitimately, this was a situation where WWE didn't want anybody to find this out, but Ruru and Lana let this out of the bag. And to me, that wasn't smart. To me, that was putting your career at risk, because WWE surely can't be happy about this. They had other plans. Now they got to change them. And it makes them look kind of stupid because you're in the middle of the storyline and it's completely opposite what the storyline is telling everybody. Is this going to be bad for their careers, or do you legitimately think they're going to land on their feet from this?
I mean, they might get paired together, and if they don't get to do anything for a while as being in the doghouse, and then, I mean, that's on them. But if they want to work together again, then I think they certainly made the right move.
And I had this, conspiracy theory. I listened to Jesse the Body Ventura on Jericho's podcast last week, and so now I've got conspiracy theories on the brain. So my conspiracy theory on this is WWE knew all along. They knew that they were going to be engaged. They let the pictures come out. They told Lana Rusev, get this released, let everybody find out about it. We're going to act dumbfounded. Summer Rae's going to act dumbfounded. That leads her to quickly breaking up with Rusev. That leads her quickly running to Dolph Ziggler, which quickly gets us to the point where we're at now, where Lana and Rusev are back together, and this is just overnight almost. So they didn't have to worry about taking a long time to get to this point. Do you think that that's true in any way, or is that just my crazy, ridiculous conspiracy?
I mean, I think there's merit to it. Certainly, like I said, if they wanted to just skip around everything and get back to the way they were, where they were, maybe they were happier working together, then here we are.
Well, I'm sure. I'm sure Rusev feels like the victor here anyway, no matter what, doghouse or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Sean's jealous.
Not gonna complain. Yeah, I'm crying tears at night sometimes, but,
yeah.
We don't win them all, I guess. Lana.
I would love to. Sean just broke down right now on the show. He's like, I can't live life.
You're a pretty depressing podcast.
Yeah. But it'd be pretty entertaining at the same point.
Yeah. I don't want to go into that much despair, Gary.
Yeah, don't do it. You're already making me despair the Raw.
Yeah, so let's finish it up by talking about perhaps the most disparaging part of this was, are we at the point where maybe Roman Reigns just doesn't need to talk?
Yes.
Like, it seems like they don't get it. Roman Reigns doesn't need to go on soliloquies. Just say, 5 words and be done with it, right? Because every time he goes into a promo, he gets boring chants. I mean, this isn't what you want from the guy that's supposed to be your next big dude, right? And then he has a match with Braun Strowman, which I thought was okay, but a lot of it seemed really forced. They didn't seem to get the whole thing with the table, and I don't know.
Yeah, Sean, you're saying it is just so frustrating. I can't help but just get this out. And to me personally, WWE is really hurting Roman Reigns. And this is just my personal opinion. They know that this guy has talent. They know that this guy could do a lot of great things. But it just seems like every chance this guy has a chance to get over organically, WWE shoves him out in front of the public and makes him look like he's supposed to be the next coming of John Cena, which he is. I get that. But let it happen organically. They're not doing that. They're forcing him into these big speeches, or forcing him to do, the whole thing with Susan G. Coleman. Not forcing him as in he's not happy. I'm sure he loves it. I'm saying this, that they're putting him out there as if he is the second coming of John Cena, and that's going to piss off all the crowd, right? They were. That's why exactly Royal Rumble didn't work, because of this situation. To me, still, not that it's too soon, because I think he was on the upward trend. I just think that they chose a bad time, and this just did not work. I don't know. Maybe, Paul, maybe I'm ridiculous. To me, it is not working.
I actually thought this was one of Roman Reigns' better attempts at these longer promos. I thought him and Wyatt had some pretty good back and forth here, honestly. The thing that just is mind-boggling to me is how the writers haven't figured out how they want to treat this character yet. Clearly, we've seen that he works better with shorter promos. I think his character is a better fit for shorter promos. But we keep coming back to these sort of long-form things that just because I like this one, I mean, very clearly I'm in the minority on that, but how have we not pinned this guy down yet? That is the surprising part to me.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's also like we already see Rollins do these things all the time. Like, you need to make things different. It's the same thing with like the opening segment. It's like Ambrose was a really good promo, and I thought he did a good job of making a lot of what he was doing seem kind of natural. Then Randy Orton comes out there, and it just seems so hokey. And it's just like, all right, guys, come on now. We went way too long. Now it seems like we're trying to force like tension between the guys that's totally not there. I mean, and then it's like New Day comes out, and it's like, oh, well, love the New Day, but oh my God, this now feels like it's a total joke segment.
Right. Yeah. I agree. And, Paul just mentioned, let Reigns do shorter commentary. Let him get out there and say shorter sentences, shorter phrases, and get his point across. And I'm totally down with that, because notice as he went on and on and on, the crowd's chanting and everything, even his responses to the crowd, it was almost like he was trying to be John Cena, acknowledging them.
Well,
and,
I mean, that's fine. Like the stuff where he's getting wutted and he's like, "Oh, you can't hear me." I thought that was funny.
I guess maybe this may be my problem, not his. My problem may be I don't get his sense of humor. It may not work with me.
No, WWE shows what kind of crowd you're in front of. This is where you need to stop living in your own world and understand that you're in front of a crowd that doesn't want to deal with this. They already have something against Roman Reigns. Don't feed into that some more. Like, just come on with it. Like, they're not going to like this. Just have him say something short and sweet. Like, I'm going to kick your ass, Wyatt. Get your ass out here, Braun Strowman. Let Wyatt do his talking thing with Strowman, and you get to the match, because that's what they want to see. And then if the match sucks, then whatever. But don't I get it. There's a point to like antagonizing them and whatever, but I don't know. When you're watching this on TV and a crowd's chanting boring, I immediately want to change the channel to the Monday Night Football game that's going on, which is pretty damn entertaining, by the way.
It's true. And like I said, I feel for Roman Reigns. I think this guy's talented. I think he legitimately has the chance to become that next guy, the next big face of this company. I just think they gotta let it come more organically. In fact, I think they need to take the script away from Roman Reigns and say, you know what? It's not working, man. Do you? What would you say in this situation? What were you coming from? I just think if he feels more comfortable, I think he does it fine.
This is the problem. The writers don't know how to do you?
I know.
There's 25 guys in there that are all trying to figure out how to write the thing that Vince wants, and then Vince says no a million times. And then Vince finally says yes, okay, or Vince writes it himself. I mean, it's just like, that's one of the problems, right? I get it. You got to have scripted promos for some people. Some people just can't do this whole, like, bullet point thing and whatever, and that's fine. Like, Roman Reigns, I think, needs a little help at that. But it's like, it totally doesn't feel like natural. It feels like a robot talking. And it's, you can't, how can I feel anything for any of these guys if they all feel like robots talking? I just, it's so, look, I get it that this is an acted thing. But you want this to feel real. You want it to feel like I can get attached to some of these people. And I can't do it when everybody feels like just this walking machine. And like, I thought actually Paige was probably one of the better ones tonight. That it felt like, okay, she's into her character, she's going with it, whatever. And I like the way she played off the whole, oh, I'm the most, whatever it was that she won. And you know, I like her character the way it is right now. I like the whole lone wolf thing, and she's trying to make it seem like she's part of that team, but really her whole thing is she doesn't want Natty to be the boss of that team or whatever, you know, and she really couldn't care less about him. Like, I thought that was one of the better ones. Like, look, I get what Paul was saying. Like, Roman, what he said verbiage-wise was good, but it's just not Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm right there with you.
I can't imagine Roman Reigns. Like, I imagine Roman Reigns is like one of those guys that maybe he maybe has a lecture with his daughter or something, but when you're talking to him, like, I imagine he just says like 5 words to you, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but see, I think the 5 words work. I think if he says short but impactful sentences, it makes him more intimidating. I know Clint Eastwood, when he played a cowboy and he just said a few words, I mean, people were scared. He didn't have to say a lot, you know?
Yeah.
So.
I just, you know, these ratings just keep going down, and I don't see that they're really trying to change anything. That's my issue.
That's the depressing part.
Oof.
I mean, like, you know, Larry says in his review, he has an old Windows prompt that attempting to give a fuck, and it just ends, it failed.
Mm-hmm. Gotta love that. That's true. This show, once again, so hard to watch. Very hard to watch. I mean, I think if legitimately I didn't do a show, legitimately I didn't care anything about this, I wouldn't watch it.
There are very few positives.
Yeah.
When you watch Raw nowadays, it's just like, okay, I'm moving on. Like, please bring on NXT, because I know I will be excited to watch that. You know. Yeah. But we got to give a rating to this show. So, where are we standing on this?
I think it's time to cue the pink and black siren, guys. This one's getting the Bret Hart special, 4 out of 10.
Man, I'm going with a 3 out of 10.
Oof, that's rough. Yeah. You know what? I mean, surprisingly enough, I'll be higher than Sean. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. I'm surprised Sean gave it that low. That was the number I had in mind. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Oof, it's bad. So, well, guys, let's talk about something that's more up to beat. Something that I think we're gonna want to talk about, and actually probably have a smile on our face, hopefully. Well, let's talk about NXT. So we'll be right back with that.
WWE Developmental NXT.
All right, NXT. I gotta find it here in my notes, but we begin with stuff from Takeover Respect. As we get Match of the Year chance with Bayley coming out, and we also get You Deserve a chance as Bayley basically talks everything about how they made history and all that stuff. And then Alexa Bliss comes out with Blake and Murphy to kind of interrupt. Alexa, makes it seem like she cares about what Bayley did and all the stuff, and she raises her arm and then takes away the title while Blake and Murphy kind of become the wall so that she can cut a little promo and, kind of just tell Bayley, hey, I'm not the one that writes essays to myself. I am just kind of... She throws the title at Bayley and kind of just insinuates, well, she's coming for it. So we also get a WWE.com thing that's supposed to happen, I guess, after TakeOver ended. between Balor and Joe, where Joe basically makes it seem like, hey, this is great, but I came here to get an NXT title shot. Finn wants to give it to him, but Regal's like, nope, not so fast. We earn things around here, so you're going to be in a battle royal. Oh, battle royals are just my favorite thing. So we go back to that, and we get a bunch of little promos for the battle royal stuff, which is cool. Basically kind of like what they do with the Royal Rumble, make it seem like it's a big deal, that's always a plus. But what do you think of the opening segment and the fact that we're getting a battle royal later tonight?
I think the opening segment was fine. Alexa Bliss, I am still a giant fan of. Her character is great, and that is the perk, I think, of what you have left in the women's division now that the most of the 4 horsewomen are gone, and that's Bayley as this incredible babyface character and a sort of slew of really good heels waiting in the wings to take her on. And as far as character goes, and wrestling wise, some of them might be a little rough, but character-wise, it should be very entertaining runs. I was fine with the Battle Royal. It's something you don't get to see in NXT all that often, and what we get is actually pretty cool because it's pretty much the entire roster.
That was the thing. I was wondering, like, okay, who all are they putting in? And then you realize, like, oh, wait, they could put pretty much everybody in this Battle Royal.
Everybody, yeah.
But you know what? That's okay with me, honestly. It leads to questions of, well, maybe a surprise could happen, so... but, the opening segment in general, not bad at all. You get a chance to see kind of the future feud for the women's championship. So I'm excited for that aspect. But, it wasn't just too great, but it wasn't bad at all. I enjoyed it.
Well, we didn't talk about this, but how do you feel about Devin Taylor being gone from NXT? No more head pats, I guess.
That is
see her on this show, but
the head pad. No more head padding is the saddest thing out of this. Honestly, you could have a piece of wood holding the microphone interviewing somebody, probably still as good as Devin Taylor.
Wow, that's love it. Just speaking his mind. Yeah, and I guess it's too hard. It's hard not to disagree because I really haven't seen much out of her either.
Well, I feel bad for her. She tried, I guess. She gave it the old college try, but she never really showed that it was like any kind of improvement there. It was just always, here's Devin Taylor interviewing somebody. I'm going to hold this, and then, all right, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We get NXT, the Vaudevillains basically squashing Angelo Dawkins and Sawyer Fulton. I like Dawkins and Fulton. I wonder if they're ever going to do anything, but, sometimes you just need enhancement talent.
Yeah, I mean, it's a squash match. It's nothing incredibly over, impressive or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, the tag team division in NXT started to get deeper, and that is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, Paul said it. I mean, squash match or what? It's just, showcasing a tag team, and that's what they need to do. They need to showcase as much of these tag teams as they can, get this tag division going strong. I mean, they did a great job with the tournament, but now it's time to really get down to business.
Well, speaking of looking strong, not only does Asuka look strong as she apparently knocked Dana out so bad that she thinks she won. And she pats Dana on the head and then stares down Emma. So perhaps we are getting the Emma Asuka match, which should be wonderful. But I thought this was really cool. Look, you know what? I'll tell you this. Asuka already has Hideo Itami beat in one aspect here, is that she shows personality even without knowing the language. Hideo Itami it's very hard for him to do that,
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, like, Asuka draws you in, even with the, whether it's the colorful attire and her hair and whatever, but she seems to get it. Like, the fact that I need to have a little comedy to what I do, a little bit of showmanship, whatever. You get to see different sides of her, and it makes you be like, oh, that's... I mean, we know she's a badass, but the fact that she has a lighter side that, like, draws you into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to see these characters grow, and I think Asuka's doing a great job of that, and, I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, I mean, what you got is great, but like Paul's saying, more is better.
Well, I mean, I meant to bring out the fact that we definitely got to see Nia Jax debut here very strongly, putting a bear hug in on Evie from New Zealand. Of course, she's been in Shimmer before, as Patrick was nice enough to let me know. And yeah, she just looked. I thought she looked awesome here. She basically did a bear hug rock bottom sort of, or bear hug spine buster. I mean, she's a big girl, and she definitely showed that here.
Absolutely. First things first, Evie is amazing, and if you're not watching Shimmer, you're missing out on her. She's a real gem in the making. Nia Jax here, I think, it was a fine, it's another squash match, so it's hard to tell exactly where she's at, capability and ring wise, but I mean, if she turns into something, her and Bayley and the big monster heel against the plucky underdog babyface is going to be money.
Oh yeah, not to mention, you can pretty much do whatever they wanted to do with Kong when she came with Nia Jax. So she kind of takes. I mean, even if she gets reactions from the crowd, obviously, also being Rock's cousin is going to help you there. But it's going to be interesting if she gets to the main roster, what they want to do with her, because she can definitely be that person that stands out by herself. They can just wreck the entire division if they want her to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because of that, and I think she had a pretty darn good debut, and I really am curious how this is all going to work out, because I feel like she is going to be dominant,
Yeah. Sorry, it's kind of late. So we get the Battle Royal, which has some interesting little eliminations and cool stuff. I thought Ty Dillinger kind of did well for himself here too. The crowd just loves doing the 10 gimmick. They had Enzo eliminate some people and get all jacked up. We had Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano in here again. As we also had Gargano get eliminated pretty awesomely by Apollo Crews, where he basically just picks him up in the air and just throws him over the top rope like he's nothing. So it came down to Corbin, Apollo Crews, and Samoa Joe. And as Joe gets out on the apron, Tyler Breeze comes and pulls him down, typical old Royal Rumble style, where even though he's eliminated Tyler Breeze, he can still eliminate someone else. And Joe is pissed. We get a thank you Tyler chant. And then we even get we want Tyler chants later. As it ends with Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin. Apollo wins. So he is your new number one contender after about a 19-20 minute match almost. I thought this was a pretty damn good Battle Royal. As far as Battle Royals go. But what'd you guys think?
I think this was an incredibly smart piece of business. You have feuds and all sorts of storylines being advanced or moved forward or started. In the case of Joe and Tyler Breeze, which I think is a great move if you don't want to have Joe in that title picture. And I think Apollo Crews is kind of almost a swerve ending here, a swerve finish, winner, whatever you want to call it. Nobody, I certainly wasn't expecting him to be in the title picture this soon, but him and Finn should have an amazing match whenever they decide to pull the trigger on that one.
Yeah, looking at this whole Rumble, it was fun to see, the final three, of course, and to get to see a lot of the different guys. But in the end here with Apollo Crews, I mean, he could definitely have great matches. Paul kind of alluded to that as well. But the one thing that I'm kind of taking away from this is I think it could have went either way. I mean, I know Apollo Crews is that guy that they love, but Corbin could have had some things go his way, and I think he could have done a great job too. But to me, it's amazing. It's fast. It's quick. They're getting Crews in this situation, but maybe they have other ideas for him. That's why they're going so quick.
Well, that does it for NXT. I liked it too. I didn't think Apollo Crews would get the title this soon, but I'm glad that they're kind of doing the slow thing with Samoa Joe and Finn. They definitely know they have money there. I think there's no way you don't get a Samoa Joe title shot at some point here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that you can wait for something later. Maybe you do this at WrestleMania, the WrestleMania weekend show or something. I mean, if that's going to be televised or not, we'll have to see. But it definitely, you have a money match there that you don't have to do right away. And you can slowly bring Samoa Joe into that, but they already planted the seeds already. That Joe's going for the title. They had it not happen immediately, which was what you expected, like Paul said. So now let's see how far and how long they go with making us wait.
Yep. So, and we shall see. But until then, we have some other shows to talk about, guys. So we're going to move on past NXT, and we are going to be talking about some New Japan Wrestling. That's right, everybody. We are talking King of Pro-Wrestling here. And, of course, Paul is going to lead us down the card, and him and Sean are going to give us a fill-in on the show. I sadly didn't get a chance to watch it, so I'm going to sit back and listen to these guys because they have all the in-depth coverage for you.
All right after this.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
All right, Paul.
All right. We're back in the Ryusuke Sumo Hall for King of Pro Wrestling. This is New Japan's our last giant event on the calendar year before we get into the rest of it, going into Tokyo Dome. And we open this show, Jushin Thunder Liger, Tiger Mask for Kushida, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Maskura Dorada taking on the essentially all the young lions that they have, which is Juice Robinson, Yohei Komatsu, Sho Tanaka, David Finlay, Jay White. The ring announcing doesn't even get finished before the young lions jump on these guys. And that was really, really cool in my opinion. Sadly, the young lions still do not get to go over. The vets put them back in their place by the end of it. But this was actually a really, really good opener in my opinion.
I really enjoyed it too. Maskura Dorada getting the win was a bit surprising. It's usually when you get, certain guys getting pins, usually tends to mean something. So we'll have to see if it does. That being said, poor Juice Robinson, he looked better, but still doesn't, look as good as anybody else in the match or anything. I mean, everybody else, you know what you're getting with the other four young lions. So, I mean, they're all crisp and good and everything. I mean, you could tell a mile away the veterans are winning, but it's still something entertaining. And I want to see Finlay and Maskura Dorada go at it now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd pretty much watch Maskura Dorada in a wet paper bag have the match at this point. The guy is just amazing, and I think they're really going to miss him whenever he goes back to CMLL, whenever his year is done. But we move on from that match to the next one, Yoshihashi taking on Tomoaki Hanma. Hanma working through a back injury, which you could probably say for about half the roster on this show. They're beat up.
Yeah.
Hanma ends up getting the win here with the Kokeshi. Just a really, really fun match. Even though it was a little bit more reserved than what we usually get, Hanma still brings it.
Yeah, you get Hanma avoiding a loose explosion, which is the Swanton Bomb, if you are familiar with that. He does the Rocket Kokeshis and all that stuff. I mean, You still get the Hanma match. You still get all that. With back injury might have played into it. It's also, we don't get these single matches that much. That isn't involving a title or something. So it's nice to see. I wish we could get these more. I know that New Japan likes to have their multi-man tags or whatever, but I think even the crowds are starting to get to the point where the multi-man tags are starting to wear on people. And I think they only had like 9,000 paid for this show, which isn't terrible, but isn't like your ultimate goal either. So I mean, these are the kind of things where if you have more of these, you might in the future, maybe. You might be able to draw, because it's something nice. It's something like you don't get to see, and it draws you into these. This obviously got to mean something later, which was another plus too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just they're having a match and whatever. It was cool. Like it's just like Yoshihashi didn't even. I mean, yes, you should care about the title, but his point was he felt like he should be in the G1, and like he wanted to win so that he could prove that he should get Hanma's spot next time or something.
Yeah, I mean, I assumed that the implication was more for the never title weight, or the never title shot here, as opposed to the Yoshihashi storyline, which felt kind of forced, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is. It keeps it interesting. I guess if we want to talk attendance, they did sell out the Sumo Hall the last 2 times they were there. Admittedly, they had 2 much better cards.
Right.
A lot of differences than what we got here, which is a lot of New Japan fans will probably recognize as being sort of samey, as the internet kids like to say. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's still a fine show, but we got a whole lot more left to talk about here before we jump into all that fun stuff. Next up, we have 8-man tag team action. Hiroshi Tenzin, Satoshi Kojima, Yuji Nagata, Manabu Nakanashi taking on Hiroki Goto, Katsuri Shibata, Kota Ibushi, and Captain New Japan. Team Tenzin gets the victory here. It's sort of an afterthought to me, because it's not. There's nothing really memorable, but it is a fun little match.
Yeah, this was better than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, I told you, Gary, the team that has Captain New Japan, they're going to lose. And I went the other way, stupidly. But yeah, I mean, this was you had your nice little interactions and whatever. Nakanishi went off on Ibushi, which was funny. Like Ibushi was trying to get a little cute, and Nakanishi's like, "Nope, I'm not having none of that." And just bam, I'm gonna chop you down, literally. That was quite unexpected. Like Nakanishi wasn't moving around like an old dinosaur like he usually does. He was a little spry in this one. You had like finisher fest going on, and you figured Captain New Japan would take the pin, so it's what it is. But still much better than it could have been. A total like bore fest. Like we'll get to another one later that seemed kind of like, all right, this is just here. This one kind of felt much better than that.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's there's a lot of good talent in here that's not doing a lot. That right. Some of it will find a direction for, but like Kota Ibushi was on this high rise, and now he's sort of doing El Zilcho.
Yeah, man, it's just I wish they would find something for him, like get him in a feud that you really care about, and not just kind of being around in tag matches.
I mean, they still have time, so hopefully they'll find something for him come Tokyo Dome time. But we'll have to wait and see. And maybe all the multiple commitments is holding him back here. But
right.
At any rate, IWGP Tag Team or Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Title match. Excuse me. Red Dragon defends against Roppongi Vice. This is what you expect. You get everything. I mean, these 2 tag teams are amazing, and it's still a really good match. It's just we've seen this a lot, not only here in New Japan, but we've seen it a couple times in Ring of Honor too. And
not
it's
to
just
mention the finish was botched.
Yeah.
It totally like I was like, okay, this is fine, and then oh god, they screwed up. Like no, Red Dragon never wins with that. Like wheelbarrow into the German move, never. It's a setup move. And like I respect Tiger Hattori for taking the shoot. Like, okay, Rocky and Kyle O'Reilly didn't come in to break up the pin. I don't know why in the hell. Who was the other why Beretta just didn't put the shoulder up, but whatever. And they come in a little late in 3, and Rocky was you could tell Rocky was pissed. Like, and Bobby Fish sold it like he just won the Super Bowl or something. It's great.
You said it, man. They never win with that move. He was surprised as everybody else.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I won. Like, I'm like, okay. A little too excited.
Yeah, I mean, despite the botch finish, everything after that was pretty fun. It's just, you've seen all this before.
Right. You didn't get anything like, other than like the super armbar thing from Rocky from the top. Like, I don't think we got anything like totally special.
Right. On the other end of that spectrum, though, is the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Title match where Kenny Omega defends against Matt Sydal. Omega goes over with the one-winged angel, but this was incredible. This is the biggest match that these two have had together on a big stage. They've wrestled before several times, but I mean, they were so incredibly smooth bell to bell. Like, this was a clinic in the best sense of the word.
Oh, yes. Gary, this is one of the matches you need to go back and watch. It is freaking awesome. I mean, like, Matt Sydal is having a fantastic year, isn't he? Like, he's killing it at any moment. I mean, I should also mention that, like, during the weekend where they had the Madison Square Garden show, New Japan had 2 shows in England, one of them which was apparently really freaking awesome, that you can actually go buy for, I think, like $9 or something online, on demand on their website. I don't know when it's going to hit New Japan World, if it ever does. But that being said, I mean, like, Sydal's been just, like, in ROH in England and Japan doing stuff. And, we're going to see him again in a little bit. And it's just, this was just so good. This was so good. I mean, like Paul hit it. Like, they were so freaking smooth. I mean, like, the, what was it, the suplex into the freaking Hurricane Rana, like, in midair? It's like, holy
ridiculous.
Crap. Like, just, and the switch into the buckle bomb thing, that was so freaking good. Like, oh, man. Just loved it. Like, I know Larry kind of wanted it to end in a different way, but I think, this is kind of how New Japan does things, So it's Omega wins. I mean, he's running out of challengers. I don't know where we're going. I guess maybe Kushida again, but this was really freaking good.
I think Larry's problem is Omega wins decisively. Like, he counters the shooting star press. He knees Sydal directly in the face after nailing him with a dragon suplex, and then puts him away with the one-winged angel. It's like super definitive, but I mean the match deserved it completely with the way, because Matt Sydal just kept coming back, and Omega finally just kills him and puts him down. But yeah, I mean, there's nobody left really to challenge Omega. Which is kind of a problem, because, I mean, there's a lack of depth. And especially there's a lack of homegrown Japanese talent in that division.
Same thing with the tag teams,
Yeah. So, I mean, the sooner Komatsu and Sho Tanaka can get up to this level, the better for New Japan. Because those two guys, I think, are really going to do some wonders for the junior heavyweight division.
Yeah, and that was the thing with the difference between the two matches, too, is the tag teams, the crowd really wasn't that into it. This match, they weren't into it in the beginning, and then they got into it towards the end, and they were really hot when you got to, like, the finish or whatever. And so that's, like, what makes it to me, like, as long as you're in there doing good work and whatever, it doesn't matter so much that you have the 2 gaijins or whatnot. It's just, and I think they're talking about maybe Ricochet with Omega, possibly, which I'm totally fine with that, because, again, Omega's so good at his character and all that he can make any face go against him, and it works. Just like you said, I want to see more like just established guys that are with the promotion. We don't need to be doing every month we're going to bring in a guy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless you just have that guy win and all of a sudden now he's going to be with the promotion for a little while, it's just going to become like almost like the Cena Open Challenge. You know what's going to happen.
Right. Absolutely. They go to intermission after all that, and they come back with the Chaos versus Bullet Club match here. Shinsuke Nakamura, Toru Yano, and Kazushi Sakuraba taking on Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, Bad Luck Fale. Nakamura and Carl Anderson are going to main event Power Struggle for the Intercontinental title, which is why this was here. This was very meh.
Yeah, this was your bathroom break match, your whatever match. I mean, if you love Yano, then he got a win, and you're happy about that. But I mean, like I'm sure Robert was happy about it, but it's whatever, you know.
Yeah, he low blows Bad Luck Fale of all people to get the pin, which is much like Larry. I laughed. Moving right along, though, we start getting into our main events here. Tomohiro Ishii challenging the for the Never Openweight title against champion Toge Makabe. Same stiff match that you've seen before. I thought this was much better than their other previous outings, so they beat the holy hell out of each other. Really, really beat the holy hell out of each other. Like I said, I mean, just the psychology behind it all, I think, was great. Ishii ends up getting the win for his third or fourth run with the belt. And then Hanma comes out post-match and gets in Ishii's face, and it's awesome, and the crowd is totally into it, and yeah, things are awesome.
I'm a little disappointed it's happening at Power Struggle, though. Like, I wanted them to wait. So either we're going to get some kind of weird finish and it goes on to Wrestle Kingdom, or maybe they destroy our hopes and dreams and it just ends there. But I mean, this match was so much better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I'm at the point with that feud where I'm just kind of like, all right, whatever. We've seen this a bunch of times. They don't change the way they're going to do the match. And surprisingly, they did, and I was into it by the end. I mean, the Ishii doing the King Kong knee drop was really cool. He didn't win with it, obviously, but I thought they just did a really good job of pacing it and getting to that big moment, and they delivered on it. Now let's hopefully see where this goes. Like Paul mentioned, they've been basically rotating it between Makabe and Ishii for the whole year, and then Hanma's been involved twice. And then we saw Ibushi get involved, and that was about it, for this title. So they really need to inject something into this, some new people into this division. Maybe trade some guys in and out just for 1 month or something, but it's established guys that have been in the company that, might have a shot at possibly getting an upset, and, this is cool with Hanma and Ishii because they had a great match, at the New Beginning, and then they had a pretty good one at G1, so let's see where that goes. I hope they take it to Wrestle Kingdom because there's really nothing else. I mean, what else are they going to pull for Ishii at that point? It's certainly not another freaking Makabe match, so hopefully they pull it to at least Wrestle Kingdom, and then you go from there. But again, this is one of those that, like, if you like me, where I was totally bored by their Dominion match, but then you watch this, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I hope they pull that, because Hanma and Ishii deserve to have another match like they had at Sendai earlier this year, but at the Tokyo Dome. Try and go out there and top that in the biggest place that you can, and have Hanma get the big victory. And it's kind of disappointing that they're going to do it at Power Struggle, but hopefully it's just going to be some build-up. Because after that, they got the giant G1 Tag League, and that's going to take all December, pretty much. So, moving on, Hiroshi Tanahashi is putting up his new Tokyo Dome title shot against Tetsuya Naito here. this is much more angle than match, but let's dive in here. Naito comes out there. He has a mysterious person with him dressed up in the Los Ingobernables words. The Ungovernables, the English translation. he has a fellow guy with him who we find out is Watanabe by the end of the match, who is just going by Evil for some weird-ass reason.
Evil in all caps, by the way.
Yeah. He ends up losing here to Tanahashi despite some attempts at interference. It's Goto and Sakuraba, or not Sakuraba, Goto and Shibata come out and sort of run Watanabe off, allowing Tanahashi to get the victory. It's an interesting situation, and I totally get why they went the way they went. Because I think the story is going to be Okada getting his win over Tanahashi, I think, at the Dome. So, what do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I know we did the whole. I know we did that whole thing where we talked about a possible other situation there. And it didn't come through as expected. We didn't. You know what? I'm fine with it. I know there's a lot of people that can't stand the fact they're doing Okada Tanahashi again. But this is a story they've been telling for the whole year. I mean, we really can't complain too much about it. And it's not like every match these guys have had has been awesome. And you know it's going to be awesome again. And especially if they tell the story you think they're going to tell. It's a great redemption story there for Okada. He ends all the people that have bothered him throughout, this little thing that he's been through. And now it's Okada's time. And Okada gets to, carry New Japan into the next whatever. But as far as the match goes, I mean, this wasn't really anything. If you were looking for some kind of big classic or whatever, stick with their G1 match, I guess. The thing with Watanabe is cool because it gets Goto and Shibata involved again, which I'm totally a fan of. We're already getting Goto and Evil at Power Struggle, so that's going to be entertaining, especially because Watanabe pretty much looks like he could be Goto's brother or something at this point. But apparently the New Japan fans didn't know that was Watanabe because he doesn't look the same as when he left, so that was cool for them. You got to have that big shock moment, and I thought this worked overall. And the STO he lays out Goto with was just beautiful. So,
where do you? The big question out of this is where do you go with Naito from here? I mean, I'm sure that's the question on Gary's mind too. But I think for everybody, where do you think they go with Naito?
Oh, this is well, I'm assuming you're doing Naito and Shibata, I guess then. I mean, they played around with it at the last show at Destruction. They didn't end, and obviously they're gonna now make this a Ingobernables against Mayu tag thing for the tag league now, because he made it a point in that conference that he said his guy hasn't even gotten here yet. So, I mean, I don't know if the Watanabe thing's gonna stick around and he's gonna kind of have a little stable in New Japan, or if the Sombra's going to come in for tag league and maybe do something at Wrestle Kingdom and then leave, or what. But I think you're still on course with Shibata right now because that never really ended. After that is when I think it's interesting. And you can also do Naito and Goto too if they want to do that. So.
Yeah, and you know what? It doesn't have to be anything specific. I'm always down with Naito, but yeah, I mean, Shibata's not a bad opponent.
No. I mean, yeah, Shibata's fine. I'd love to see him and Sombra win the G1 Tag League and challenge at the Tokyo Dome for the belts, but I don't know how much you would be able to have the Sombra come over to make defenses or anything like that.
Be two heel teams going against each other.
It's Bullet Club, who are sort of, in between.
Yeah. And
then you have super 10,000% heel Naito, So,
right.
I think it makes Bullet Club de facto. But, I mean, they have something with Naito. They really need to capitalize on it and do something with that. And I guess that's just really what I want to see come out of this.
I agree with you. They do. If they don't put him into some kind of big... I mean, the thing is, too, like we talked about this, he can definitely... At New Beginning, it's there. Like, Okada, this is his start of now it's Okada's time. Like, the first opponent for me, like, that makes most sense unless we're going to go back to... Okay, well, you owe Goto and you owe Nakamura a shot, which I guess is plausible too, is Naito. Like, Naito is your big heel right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed.
We haven't seen that match since Naito's been Mr. Heel right now.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a Naito Intercontinental title run, too, with him lifting off Nakamura at the Dome or something like that, too. But
that would be cool.
Yeah. Anyway, main event.
I'd love to see him take, like, this whole, like, I'm going to slowly take apart all the New Japan guys.
Yeah, like, I'm going to kill your heroes would be awesome.
Yeah.
You gotta love it.
Yeah. Main event time. IWGP heavyweight title match. Okada defends against Styles. This is the guy that AJ Styles works best with in New Japan, in my opinion. He's had good stuff with Tanahashi, he's had good stuff with Nakamura, but him and Okada are just on another level together. And it has to do with just how similar they are. But this was good. It didn't come close to their Dominion or Destruction. I forget which one. Their last showing together was just incredible. This tried, but it didn't get there.
I don't think it was supposed to. I think this is more about Okada just, all right, I figured you out. You're not going to hit me with the Styles Clash. I'm going to hit you with all the freaking Rainmakers I can, and you're going to be out of here. Like, this is about Okada being ready for Wrestle Kingdom to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fine with how they did the match. Like, it was so cool. Like, the fact that AJ tried so many times to do Styles Clash, so he had an answer. And then, he wouldn't even, like, let him do it. It was like, no, I know what you're doing right now. I'm not even going to, like, we're not even playing around with the fact that you're going to, like, try to get this on me. Just, all right. And then, Bullet Club basically, Carl Anderson saving him, like, saved the match.
Mm-hmm.
Because it should have been over a long time ago. Just so... Like, I think that's where Bullet Club kind of made sense here. I know a lot of people are kind of tired of Bullet Club getting involved in these matches, but it kind of made sense storyline-wise, so it's fine. I mean, we know what we're getting. This was just a stopgap to the Okada-Tanahashi eventual thing at Wrestle Kingdom, so...
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, well, I don't know, did y'all want to rate that show? I know it wasn't a big...
I
don't know.
I would say like 7 for me. There was nothing bad on the show other than I guess you could maybe say that Chaos tag or whatever it was. And then you had the junior tag titles that had the bots finish or whatever, but there wasn't anything like, oh, this was atrocious, whatever. There was nothing like, there's no match of the years. There was some like good 2 like 4-star matches, and that's your extent of it, I think. But it was still something like if you're a New Japan fan, you're not gonna go wrong watching it because there's some cool stuff happening here, like stuff with Naito and Watanabe and all that. But I think it's not something that you're gonna like remember either.
Right. I mean, there's stuff happening on this show. There's good wrestling. It's your usual, great New Japan card. I'd still give it an 8, even if it is all samey and it feels the same to you. It's still tremendous wrestling. Did you watch the with the English commentary, Sean?
No, I didn't. I watched with Japanese. But I heard that they kind of did okay from what everybody else was saying.
Yeah, I gave the English commentary a shot just to see, because I heard a lot of different varying opinions too, and it was fine. I enjoy Kevin Kelly, I think, more than other people do. I think him and Stryker found their way eventually, much like Stryker and Ross did, but I feel like if this was Carino and Kelly, this would have been so much better. And hopefully, with Ring of Honor getting the honor of promoting the Wrestle Kingdom pay-per-view here in the States, that it'll be those two doing that. And because Carino, obviously he's been to Japan, he's worked Japan, he knows Japan. And Stryker, I mean, he did his fair part, but it wasn't anything tremendous.
Carino can be serious.
Yes.
If he wants to, if they want him to do that, he can do it. Like, he doesn't have to be the over-the-top crazy guy we see on ROH, So I think that people that are expecting that Carino can only do it one way are not understanding that if they said, hey, we're going to do you in Carino, but you got to cut out the crazy stuff, he'd do it in a heartbeat,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up New Japan, King of Pro Wrestling. Great show, and these guys did a great job breaking that down. But, man, we've got some more stuff in this show, and we have to talk some Ring of Honor next, so we'll be right back with that. All right. Go ahead, Paul.
Alrighty. Ring of Honor comes out swinging with this show. Match number 4 in the best of 5 series between Matt Sydal and ACH. It goes about 15 minutes. Matt Sydal ends up getting the victory, as I'm sure everybody expected, because this was totally going to 5 matches. But this is sort of similar to their number 3 match. It's a little slow out the gate, but it finds its way at the end. And you get some really fun spots in this.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was, I like the way they built throughout there, and you have some really awesome moves with these two, because they know each other so well. We knew Sydal was winning, but they tried to do their best to kind of make it seem like ACH could win.
Yeah, they did. And, once again, it was an exciting match and a good way to start the show. I mean, it really was. Got lots of energy. Anytime you have Matt Sydal, you got lots of energy. So it was definitely an addition that I really appreciated. And for the most part, it was all good. So.
Absolutely. And then post-match, we have Daniels, Kazarian, and Sabin come down. They hit Celebrity Rehab on both the guys after the match. And demand that justice be served because they weren't really beaten for their tag team titles. And they know it wasn't Sabin who attacked him and all this other stuff. And another team that feels the same way, who also feels that they are still tag team champions, was the All Night Express. And so they're going to have a match next week. That's how we get there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All Night Express doing some more stuff.
That's right.
After that, we have our first little interaction here with Silas Young and where he's going to go with the boys. So in this, he tells the boys that they're sort of going to learn how to take a beating like a man. So Silas Young teams up with the Beer City Bruiser to take on the boys, who sort of started to make a comeback before Silas Young comes in and hits Misery on him.
This was what you would expect, right? Like, it's about teaching them how to be men, so they take a beating. I mean, they've made it interesting with having them make a comeback and stuff. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. No, and you're right, Sean. It is interesting, and the main thing here is you get a chance to see the kind of the in-depth part of this, where Silas is trying to get these guys into shape and the way he thinks, and to kind of break them down a little bit. So it's definitely interesting. It makes you wonder, if these guys will fully transform, and that's what they're trying to lead you to believe. But the one thing I did enjoy was the attack, and they kind of used one of Dalton Castle's moves in this match, and I thought that was fun. So
absolutely. String of promos here. Martini and Lethal cut one on Watanabe as Lethal's defending his TV title against Watanabe in the main event. Martini tells Watanabe he should maybe open his eyes a little more so he can see what's waiting for him in the main event tonight. That's some good promo there, Martini. We get a little recap of Adam Cole sort of turning on Kyle O'Reilly, which leads into Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly coding a promo on Cole, which was meh. And then Cole gets his fair share to say his piece, which is amazing because, it's Adam Cole Bay, and he's the best. Kingdom will be on ROH television next week to explain what their agenda is.
All right, we'll go for explaining your agenda. The Watanabe and Lethal match is kind of nothing. And how is it that every time ROH has something from New Japan happen, it's like the same week or whatever, and it makes them seem like they're late.
Yeah.
So, like, Watanabe shows up in New Japan, well, he's still in ROH somehow. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Random happenstance, Sean. That's what it is. Random happenstance.
Kind of like Ciampa appearing on NXT and TNA on the same night.
Yeah.
So. No, but this was great, or great for what it's worth. It was an enjoyable match with Lethal, and for me personally, I mean, it had its moments where it was, what's going to happen here, or how are they going to do this? But in the end, it actually worked out better than I thought it would. I wasn't really sure what to expect. Of course, I didn't think Lethal was going to lose, but I expected, some different things to happen that didn't quite make it, but was surprised by others. So good stuff.
Yeah, this match has the same problems you have with Watanabe matches. People just are, a lot of the ROH faithful and some of these shows that they go to just don't really care for him all that much.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of that, and they're all kinds of into Lethal, so that's sort of where you lose people, I think, watching at home.
Yeah, I agree. So,
but that's your ROH TV right there.
All right, so not a bad episode, really. I mean,
at least the ratings for this were pretty steady from last week. So.
Yeah, and they should be. I think the show deserved it. I really did. I know it wasn't.
It's good, because they had New Japan talent on the last show, and it was also a repeat of the show that nobody dared.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of carried over for this week, where it was their first new show after the All-Star Extravaganza, so that's good.
Exactly.
Whereas with TNA, they had the lowest rating on Destination America ever.
Oh, yeah. And we'll talk about maybe why they had the lowest record-setting episode for TNA. So here we go. We are going to jump right into it right now. We'll be right back with TNA Impact Wrestling.
TNA Impact Wrestling.
All right, TNA. Well, they're doing more of the World Title Series, so you know what this is, right? It's just a bunch of matches, which is fine, totally fine. I mean, this is what they're trying to get you to do, right? This is all pre-taped from a while ago. Matt Hardy, David Richards, probably perhaps the best of them. What did you guys... I mean, look, okay, we have Matt Hardy, David Richards, Aiden O'Shea, the former Jay Bradley against Kenny King, Eric Young against Abyss, oh boy, Robbie E versus Eddie Edwards, and Mahabali Shera against Crazy Steve, and also James Storm against Bobby Roode. So we got a rematch of that long-ass feud. So what did you guys think of the match? What were some of the highlights here, and some of the lowlights, I guess?
Mahabali Shera and Crazy Steve. I don't know a person in the world who's going to care about that match. So, boo on you, TNA. The opening and the main event, though, were both pretty good and worth your time. Bobby Roode, James Storm, they just have it whenever they're in the ring together. So that whole match works all the way through. Hardy and Richards, I think, I would say is surprising, but I think just how good it was for the short little amount of time it got was impressive.
Gary, anything?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to think offhand, because Paul pretty much covered it. I mean, really, honestly, because the main event was what it was. It wasn't bad at all, and the beginning of the show wasn't bad either. The other matches were just kind of there. I'll say this, this is a tournament, and it's a tournament that's going to kind of bring you these different matchups that you're going to either enjoy or you're just going to be like, okay, well, I don't have to sit here and watch this. So in this episode, overall, I mean, it was okay. Nothing bad, but also nothing to write home about, let's be honest. So, it is kind of surprised me. It's a record low, simply because, they're not doing bad stuff. They're not really talking or having too big a cheesy of things in between matches, segments and all. So, but, in general, I'll say this. You're going to have people that like these and the people that don't. And the entertainment side of this was very low. So maybe that's why. So, interesting. So, but, overall, NXT can do these kind of things, but it seems like a TNA does them. You look at the different things, and NXT does.
Like NXT had other stuff besides the tag team whatever matches.
Exactly.
So, it wasn't just like a whole show of the tag team classic matches, and we didn't get to see every match. We saw like one of them, and they showed highlights of the other ones. It's like, it's a little bit overkill. And it also, a lot of it doesn't feel like it they try to make it mean something because of the points and all that stuff, which I guess we can go over the standings here, but still, I feel like a lot of it's just, alright, whatever.
Yeah.
So, we have Group UK, which is Drew Galloway, Rockstar Spud, Bram, and Grado. Drew Galloway and Rockstar Spud both have 3 points. Bram and Grado have 0. The Group Knockout, which is the Knockouts, Awesome Kong, Brooke, Gail Kim, and Madison Rain. Awesome Kong and Brooke both have 3. Gail Kim and Madison Rain have 0. Group Champions, which are all former champions. Lashley, Austin Aries, EC3, and Mr. Anderson. You have Lashley with 3 points. Austin Aries and Ethan Carter had the count-out draw, so they have 1 point, and Mr. Anderson has 0. Group Wildcard. Mahabali Shera, Kenny King, Crazy Steve, and Aiden O'Shea. Shera and Kenny King have 3. And Crazy Steve and Aiden O'Shea have 0. These are the 4 new groups that they did not introduce last week. Group TNA Originals, which is Abyss, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and James Storm. Abyss and Bobby Roode have 3 points. Eric Young and James Storm have 0 because they lost. The Group Tag Team Specialists, which is Matt Hardy, Robbie E., Eddie Edwards, and Davey Richards. So 3 points for Matt Hardy and Robbie E. 0 points for Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. So the Wolves are down to 0 now. Group of the Future 4. Jesse Goddard, Crimson, Eli Drake, and Micah. Well, I'm sorry to say, TNA, if that's your Future 4, boy, that looks dim for you. Jesse Goddard. I guess they did not have matches. And the Group X Division, which I figured they would have an X Division group, which is Tigre Uno, Mandrews, Manic, and DJ Z. So, yeah. Well, next week at least you'll get EC3 versus Lashley and Austin Aries versus Mr. Anderson. So,
this is a really neat concept, but it really feels like on TV they're just killing time. That is the giant problem with all this.
You're telling me. And look at these segments that they have in here, different little vignettes and things in between these matches. The Robbie E thing, come on. Why do they feel like they got to call out celebrities or athletes to get them to try to show up? They call out Rob Gronkowski. Really? So you're expecting Gronkowski to appear on your show? Okay. Because one of the wrestlers, which Robbie E, he says he was the first Robbie, I don't know. Oh, it's cheesy, it really, really is. It's awful. So, I don't know. But in the end, decent episode of TNA. This was not a god-awful episode. I know it sounds kind of negative, but this was not god-awful or anything. It was pretty okay. You just got to sit through a lot if you're watching live. And thank goodness I have DVR, or I don't have to watch the show live, and you can get through TNA pretty quickly. So, well, guys, we only have one thing left to do, and that is crown a Superstar of the Week. So we will be right back, and we will do that.
Superstar of the Week.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, I just thought about this. The fact that we kind of pre-show kind of talked about our list. Does anybody have any wavering thoughts after going through these shows? Because I think we can kind of go down this list real quick and pretty much have the same. Do we still all agree on that?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, well, I'll just list them off here real quick for us all. We kind of talked about this pre-show, and number 5 for us is Rusev. Ruru made number 5 because, of course, he is engaged to Lana. So, I mean, that's, to me, a top spot for sure, especially for Sean. So, number 4, Ishii. That's right, Ishii. Sorry, Sean. Not about Ishii, about the whole Rusev, I know. Ishii gets number 4. Number 3 has to go to Jay Lethal once again. Putting the belt on the line and retaining. Good job. Kenny Omega gets number 2. He did a great job getting his title, and it was a great match. You heard you heard Sean and Paul cover that, so it's great stuff. And number 1, the Rainmaker, Okada. How can you go against him? I don't think anybody can disagree with that. So that is our superstar of the week. We have Okada as our top guy. So congratulations to him. And once again, we have some great names on this list, and we have a majority of New Japan guys. But guess what? It's because they're doing such a great job. Hopefully we'll get some WWE guys back on that list, and maybe we'll get lucky.
Next week we should.
Yeah, we should. You're right. Because guess why? Because we are going to be doing a Hell in a Cell preview for all of you. And, of course, we're hoping that Raw is going to bring a lot of great things and getting you pumped up for that big pay-per-view.
Finally do that. I'm sorry we didn't do it this week, but we will do it next week. That what we watched on Bad Blood 97 and also covering the Brock Lesnar Taker first Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
So we'll have that in there for you as well as the Hell in a Cell preview.
As well as we'll talk, briefly about the Stone Cold podcast with Brock Lesnar. So,
and Gary will be at Raw.
Yeah.
So he'll get to give you his thoughts from having been there. Are you going, Paul, or?
I am not.
Okay.
Money did not line up.
Yeah. I got a late birthday present gift, and that's what this is. So, yeah. Someone said, "I never bought you a birthday present." I said, "I want to go to Raw." Okay. So here you go. But it's gonna be fun. Looking forward to it. Hopefully it'll be a good time. Hopefully it's not like this week's Raw. Otherwise, I'm bringing me a pillow. So, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But we have a lot of other great things for next week. So guys, you got to stick around. You got to come and check us out Thursday night. It is going to be a blast. We cannot wait to do that show. But of course, don't forget we have some other podcasts that we want to let you guys know about, just in case you need a little bit of other stuff you want to hear before you get to that Thursday show, right, Sean?
Yep. So whenever we do have a W2M network page that you can go like on Facebook. That kind of keeps you up to date with all the stuff that, either we all participate in or like Paul helped me out with the Game's Top 5 list. So when I post that tomorrow morning, you'll get to, read what Paul thought was the top 5 Mario characters. And, if we post the podcasts from the sites there and all that stuff, So always check it out and get other people to like it as well, because that helps spread the word. Of course, you can also go subscribe to the whole W2M network. That means all 3 of the podcasts together, if you like them all. Or you can just go subscribe to them all individually on iTunes or Stitcher and TuneIn and Podbean and on Spreaker, whichever you prefer to use. We are wherever podcasts are available. You can go and do that. The best thing you can do, if you like this podcast, as a first time listening, thank you. If you're a long time listener, thank you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It'd be nice if you could go rate and review on iTunes or Stitcher. That'd be great. That helps us out, I think, more than anything else. So if you guys would do that, that'd be cool. If not, it is just thank you for listening, because that's always appreciated too. And you can always drop us a line, WrestlingMax@gmail.com. And because we did the show late, we didn't remind you, but we do have a phone number. You can call 972-591-8620. It's through Skype. So you can either get on Skype and just find us on W2M Network and find us there. Or you can just drop a line, leave a voicemail if you have a question or you want to say something about the podcast, whether it's positive or negative, and you can just leave it there, and we'll get to it. So,
yeah.
And we already kind of gave you the two big things we're doing for next week on the show. As far as the podcast go, Gary and I just finished the Football to Football NFL Week 6 preview. So you can go listen to that if you're getting ready for your Week 6. As long as Randy is feeling up to it, we should be Randy and I doing another Rabble broadcasting the Panthers-Seahawks game. So if you're around 4 p.m. Eastern and you were really looking forward to that game, turn down the announcers and listen to Randy and I call the game because it should be fun, entertaining. And we might be doing a W2M1 for Hell in a Cell. Not totally confirmed yet. We have to make sure everybody's schedules line up as far as work. But we might have a little special guest there doing it with us as long as some sports don't get in the way. But hopefully we don't have to get to that. So. And
just to let everybody know, Bally Sheriff may not be the guy, but we're trying to get him on to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly who we're trying to get on. And there's also the video game podcast, Carpet Multiplayer Live, which we talked about. I played the Star Wars Battlefront beta with Randy, actually. So I got to talk about my experience with that. And I went through my whole review of Rock Band now that I can play my instruments and stuff with it too. So actually it turns out that apparently having the old instruments works better than having the new instruments because the new instruments have problems. So, yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah, apparently having firmware updates sucks because they figured that everybody needs to have a PC that has Bluetooth. If you don't, then you're kind of screwed. So yeah. I don't know how that works, but whatever.
Yeah. So all right, guys. Well, that wraps up our show. I just want you all to know we appreciate it once again. Thanks for listening. And, there's a few things you need to remember. One of those is enjoy your October. It's only here once a year. And, of course, one other thing. If you're not living life to the max.
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace. And why did I do this again?
Oh, you didn't put the music in? Oh, dun.
I got it.
Okay.
I just forgot.